Alright everyone, it's time for Occult Literature, video number 318, Popular Superstitions of the Highlanders of Scotland. Of course, the title's actually more obtuse and long than that, but I couldn't even fit it in the title on YouTube. Link in the description of my edition of this work on Amazon, second and third links to my books blogs. This goes in the folklore, mythology section, of course. It's 157 pages, so intermediate length. It's very, very dense. And it's got basically everything. Scottish folklore around this time was very, very popular as a subject. Basically, any folk tales were popular, but Scotland was one of the big ones. Scotland and Ireland, for the English-speaking audience, were always the two big draws. That and Hindi and Arabic lore, actually, the Arabian Nights and shit. Scottish was, I think, the most popular, though. And so you got your Kelpies, you've got, the sort of satanic disembodied horses that sit next to the roadside and try to drown travelers in order to give their souls to the devil. The idea was that they hadn't been to confession, they've probably sinned since their last confession, so you drag them into the water. The Kelpie gets to eat the body, or rip it apart, or it's not entirely clear all the time, play with it as a toy, the drowned body, and then the devil gets the soul. You've got ghosts, and these change over time, and it's very interesting because this actually has a whole section that sort of traces the development of ghosts from an initial period where they're considered semi-tangible. They can literally be whacked apart with your claymore, essentially, and then they become more ethereal, more actual spirits over time. There's an evolution to it. You've got a million different stories here. Very, very interesting, and some of them are pretty bizarre. It's sort of like that one, the one that I edited a few months ago on Japanese folklore, where they had like the woman that buried her hands in the young girl's breasts, and they had to chop her hands off and stuff. It gets into that macabre, sort of bizarre grotesquerie. It's sort of similar in the way that it is. A little bit less depressive than Irish folklore can be, but nonetheless just as bizarre. I enjoyed the work myself. Keep in mind, when I edit these works, I typically am going to choose works that at least when I skim over them, they're interesting. So I get to read all of this interesting folklore as well. Some of the stories here are very clannish. That's another thing. With like the Highlanders and stuff, the Scottish, you're talking about different clans, and sometimes they have like different takes on these stories as well. So it's definitely worth a read. If you're interested in Scotland or folklore, anything under the sun, basically, I think that you'll enjoy this particular semi-anthropological collection of folklore material. So again, link in the description of my edition of this work on Amazon, second and third links to my books, blogs, 157 pages intermediate read. Now, that's about all. Peace out.